you are here for a lead, you are in the right spot. My annual monthly reminder for you guys, please make sure all your devices, even your iPads from your academic setting, your phones, whatever else you guys have, please make sure that some sort of ringer function is off. Don't have it be on vibrate. Otherwise, you get them that start skipping around the table or they're buzzing in somebody's bag. Let's please make sure we're respectful of our guests today. So for us here, we've got some representatives from UWSP and their girls soccer program. We've got Coach Pro here. She's got two young ladies here as well from the program coming to talk to you. Just as usual, I'm not going to get too much into their backgrounds and their bios. I'll let them do that as they're here to speak with you today. But please make sure that we are respectful and attentive. Please give them a warm Merrill welcome this morning to come speak to you guys.
My name's Dawn Crow. I'm the head women's soccer coach at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. I guess a big thing for me, playing-wise, I played at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. I was a 4-year scholarship player there. We won 4 national titles. Lost 1 game to Duke, so we were 97-1-1 in my 4 years there. Played with the women's national team for a while. Did stuff along that lines. I've been a Division I head coach, Division I assistant at the University of Alabama, Mississippi State. Had kids, basically things kind of went a different direction in terms of wanting to be around my family as opposed to be off living the majority of the time. So that's how I ended up at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. With you guys today, we have it's kind of a treat. Both of these young ladies were just recently named All-Region for women's soccer. So right underneath All-American status. Hopefully we'll get some of them to do that next year. This year we had a record of 12-2-4. When I first got to Wisconsin-Stevens Point, we basically, for lack of a better word, were not good. We were good at all. And a lot of that was because of our culture. We had a lot of me before we type kids. We had people who didn't understand what it meant to be part of a team and what that culture should be like. Now when we discuss our team, we talk about family. Forget about me, I love you. Since everybody needs to know what that definition is. Everybody has different types of family. My family may look drastically different than your family. So we all wanted to make sure people understood what that meant. From there, we started weeding out what we refer to as now the outliers. But it was the Debbie Downers, the ones who kind of suck the life out of you, right? The ones that no matter what's going on, they always find the negative right away and just drill it into you, and it kind of becomes a beatdown to hang out with them. Now we have people who kind of pick yourself up, and that's a big thing for me because my freshman year at Carolina, I had to memorize a quote. And the quote was by a guy named George Bernard Shaw. And the quote goes like this, okay? You have to bear with me because I went to school in the early 90s. But again, this is the quote I had to memorize my freshman year of college. The true joy in life, to be used for a purpose recognized by oneself, is a mighty one. Instead of being a feverish, selfish little clod of grievances and ailments, complaining that the world does not devote itself to making you happy. Okay? So now me as a coach, right, having to deal with culture when I was kind of the anti-culture person when I was in college, becomes humorous. My mom still laughs at the fact that I had to memorize that quote. And then anytime that I was getting ready to play or doing something, if I couldn't recite it back, then I'd have to sit down. So my playing time was determined whether I could memorize the quote or not. We instituted a lot of things at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point in order to get our culture back on track. We do kind of, the players started calling it kind of their obituary, which then I had to remind them that it's not, they're not dying. It's some kind of an end of the season type of banquet type deal. So they have to write a letter to what they would want me to say when I speak about them by the time that they're a senior. And so we all stand up and read our letter, and then we kind of talk about how we're going to hold each other accountable for what was in that letter. How do you want us to, so accountability then became a really big thing for us. We still struggle with it, but it's not as drastic as it was when we first got there. Team chemistry was such a big thing. So when we go into a tackle, so let's say Maddie and I are into a tackle, we go, ball comes up and hits me in the face. We had a player on our team that first year that turned to the other player and said, hey, the good players aren't supposed to get hurt by the bad ones, right? So a big uh-oh moment in terms of team culture, right? Instead of picking one another up, we basically hammered each other left and right, and it was just like, oh my God. And it was really interesting because nothing split. Like no one wanted to, kind of, for lack of a better word, piss off the other side, right? So it was just this thing. And as a coach, you want to step in and say, no, this isn't how it is, but at the same time, you learn to value the fact that it means more coming from the inside. It means a lot more coming from the inside. So one of those two groups was going to have to win out, and it was really kind of interesting because neither one did, right? But it helped shape our team chemistry now in the fact that they do a lot of stuff together without me, thank God, right? But then the other part of it too is they control the culture of our team. They decide what we're going to value. They decide what is important. And so we find ways to kind of help that along. When they come in, we have book club. So they all have to read certain books, and then we meet as a group and have that book club. We talk about what they pull from the book. We talk about what they look for. And so there's a lot of different books that they read. And the fun part for me is when we get into these book clubs, they say, I think this book would be great for so-and-so. And I'm like, well, you can give it to them and see if they'll read it. And so they kind of pass it along as well, which I think is important. Again, team culture is kind of what you end up creating. What you value is going to be what's important. And I think that the biggest key into finding that culture is literally finding your why. Why are you doing this? Like for me, my why of coaching is to create better human beings. Like the results are going to come if you're doing it the right way. But to me, that first year I was at Stevens Point, I never introduced any of the girls on my team to my family. And as a coach, that's really, really hard because there weren't a lot of qualities in those players that I wanted I have twin 4-year-olds. I wanted them to get to know. And so here I am working for something that I was like, oh my gosh, I would be embarrassed that I brought them home to my family. Now you guys come over all the time, like they're coming over Sunday for a little pre-holiday type deal. So there's a lot of that stuff that goes on, and I think it becomes important to see it, embrace it, and deal with it. The longer you let stuff fester, the harder it is to fix. So there's times where you have to be kind of the heavy. I think the other part of it too is if you don't work on culture will come, but it's probably not the culture you want. Right? Some days you kind of have to embrace the suck and deal with it and then grow from it. And I think that that's what we really kind of brought to the table with our program. So this is Maddie Hardman. She's from Red Wing, Minnesota. She's a rising senior. So weird to say. She's a forward for us. She's been a 2-time all-conference, all-region, academic all-region. Just the student athlete isn't just a buzzword for us, and it's important. Lexi Pulowski, it's her first year starting for us. Didn't make all conference, which is I'm still bitter about, but she made all region, if that makes any sense, right? So all conference and then higher is all region, but she made all region, but not all conference. Right? So it kind of makes our coaches look bad, so we like to point it out in our conference. Really, both of these young ladies were kind of the catalyst behind the turnaround of our program. And I'll let them kind of say some stuff, and then if you guys have questions, we're more than it's about that. So go ahead.
Yeah, so like Don said, my name is Maddie. you know, Dawn was saying how she didn't want to introduce the old team to her family. And like, I was just thinking about, you know, we're gonna go to her house and have chili on Sunday and get to see her twins, Augie and Fitz. Oh my gosh, cutest people. Cute, literally, they're just like perfect little people. I love them. And, you know, and we earned that right to go and be able to be invited to her house and to see her family. And, you know, that's something that we had to work for. Because initially, you know, we didn't know if that was gonna be a thing. And, you know, as soon as we started singing Disney during practice and watching movies on the bus together and laughing, and you know, we earned that right to feel that love in her heart. And I can let Lexi talk a little bit, and then maybe if you guys have any questions about, you know, like leadership or you just being a student athlete in college, go ahead and just spit them out. I think it's easier to keep dialogue going with what you guys want to be hearing rather than what I think that you guys might want to hear. So,
yeah, for sure. For me, for like high school team, like our team wasn't very close whatsoever. So coming to Steven's point and seeing the difference between like family, like being close with Dawn and being close with everyone during preseason has really helped me grow as a person as well. So I could go to anyone on the team and honestly talk about anything I want, which is what I loved from a team. So like, that was completely different for me from high school to here. For sure.
you guys have any questions about just college in general, about, you know, how you guys feel about how you think you should lead in high school for you guys' teams? I know some of you are freshmen, some of you are seniors, some in between, and anybody is able to be a leader in that aspect. If not, I have something to say. Yeah.
Coach, when you select and go through the process of having captains fill in for either students that have left or graduating, what kind of criteria do you look for in potential leaders of your program, whether you're recruiting them as high school seniors or somebody who's going to be a leader in your program at the collegiate level?
You know, the funny part is, it's one of the questions you get asked a lot. You don't have to have a title to be, you don't have to have a captain's title to be a leader, right? I think the important thing is you have to have people following you, right? We can't all be leaders, but at the same time, sometimes the best leaders are the ones that are willing to turn around and grab somebody and pick them up as opposed to knock them down. And it doesn't take being a captain to do that. When we start looking at our team in general and bringing in recruits and kind of, you know, we actually like to have kids overnight. Like, I can be the biggest turd in the world, and I bring you in on a visit, and it's easy to act like you're got your stuff together and you really want to play at this level. But like for a couple, 24 hours, I can do that for 24 hours and not have it really kind of show anything. But if I'm on campus for 48 hours, which is what most visits are, but it's hard not to have red flags come up in terms of your character and who you are and what you're about within that time frame. So for me, it's important, and obviously with our budget not being as big, it's important enough for me to pay for more meals to get to know that person really, really well. And again, they're going to be over at my house, hanging out with my kids and my family, and I don't want to have people that are going to suck the life out of me, because life's too short for that. So we look for people that, they may not have it all together, because let's face it, all of us don't at different parts of our lives at different times, but we're looking for people who value other people and may need to be led, but then also as time goes on have figured out that it's okay to lead, it's okay to hold people accountable, it's okay to turn, the hardest thing for us to do from a female side is to turn and have accountability. And it's okay to turn to somebody and say, dude, you're not fit. Or, I don't understand why I'm not playing. Obviously, she hates me. No. You haven't been towing the line. You haven't been doing, and it's a hard thing to say to peers. But at the same time, you're going to have that same thing when you go out into the real world in your daily job. So you have to have that accountability. And so that's, and again, it's a thing we struggle with, and every year it's gotten better. But I think in order for us to get to where we're not excited about being ranked in the top 25 in the nation. In order for us to be challenging for a national title, we have to have more accountability.
Yeah, and I think Donna said she has girls stay overnight, and we actually host them. We hold them. You guys sleep on the floor of our dorms. Sometimes you're lucky you get an air mattress that stays float. Air, can't say what it's called. Blown up the whole night. When I stayed over, my air mattress deflated in the middle of the night, and whatever, I held with it. And so people that come and that we're looking at stay with us, and Dawn asks us, "Do you guys like her?" And if we say that, we see her as maybe, we see some red flags that we don't really like, we tell her that, and that goes into account of the recruiting process. Like we're part of building our team. It's not just Dawn, going out, finding someone saying, oh, she's good at soccer, I want her, she's gonna come play. She's gonna say, she's good, does she have the character for our team? And us as a team, we hang out with them. It's not just the people that host her, we go to dinners, and like Dawn said, we go to her house, and we can help decide whether or not that person makes them a team based on their character. And Dawn also said something about you don't have to be like an upperclassman or a captain to be a leader, and you have to be someone that pulls someone up and helps them. And my big thing for that is we have like this fitness test in the beginning of the year, and for me it's really hard because it's hard for me to come in fit sometimes, and I didn't pass the first time this year. That was super fun. But the cool part is I got to run it again, and those people that passed were able to help me pass my time around. I literally had a freshman, 2 hands behind my back, going like this, you gotta go, and just sprinting with me down it. And like that just showed me how much that she really cares about me and how much she wants, because you don't get practice here, you don't get to start, you don't travel if you don't pass fitness test. And so she saw it as, I need to get Maddie across the finish line, and like for this freshman that I've heard was new. Now I've known her for maybe a week in the summer, and she's pushing me to my limits, and like that's like a leadership trait that I see. And I'm a junior. She didn't have to do that. She could have been scared of me. She like didn't know if I wanted to be pushed. She was gonna push me and get me across the finish line, and that's like something that you see in a leader, someone that you don't have to be that upperclassman, that captain to push somebody and to make them better. So that's just what I got from that. And I know you mentioned talking about, how you get captains. I was lucky enough to be voted into captain this year, so that was really cool as a junior. And the people on the team are the ones that vote for us. Like Don and the coaches don't say, you're going to be captain because I like this about you. They go to the team and they go to the people around you, and they decide whether or not you're suitable for that. And it was really cool being actually another junior. We're the 2 captains this year, and obviously they saw something in us, and that was really cool that the people around us were the ones that decided about whether or not they wanted to follow. So that was really cool.
With that, we do get final say. We can veto if we feel like that person is not. But for us to come in and veto who the team has picked, there has to be a rhyme or reason. It could be something where there's maybe 3 right kind of in a row or whatever, and so if we see that, okay, we can bring somebody else along for that, we can vote for, we can add them, but for the most part, we pretty much let the team lead. But when we do it, we have stipulations in terms of what we want them to kind of look for. Is it somebody you go and talk to? Is it somebody? And I think Matt is a little outgoing, and the other captain probably not so much as outgoing, but like there's going to be a lot of people that resonate with those 2 people, and I think that becomes important. Now, there's been other times we've had captains. It was funny because we had 2 captains the last 2 years who were they were captains both years. And the first year, they were captains when we had our exit interviews with everybody after the season. They're like, oh, they're horrible leaders, da-da-da-da. And it's funny because then they voted them right back in the next year. So, and then if you ask them after that season, they're like, oh my God, they were great leaders. They took the time to get to know us. They figured out what motivated us, but again, it was the same 2 people, and it was a difference in how they led that made the biggest difference. And so we were able to come back with the feedback for those captains from the year before and say, okay, this is what they looked at. They thought you guys clumped together, and didn't really take their concerns into play. And so they grew because we were able to come to them with, not criticism, harsh criticism of them, but where they could have growth in their leadership potential. Because it's still, and I think we do a decent job of this, but we show that we screw up just as much to them. Like we show them that we don't have all the answers. We'd like to think we do, but as coaches, we don't really have all the answers. And so when we mess up, we make sure we let them know that we messed up, that it was our bad on what we did. And I think that helps kind of reconnect and bridge the gap between what they're trying to do and where we as a team kind of succeed. When we talk in terms of our team, and you guys will find this interesting, we use our, like the pronouns we like to use are our, us, we, not me, mine, my, right? Those kinds of things aren't, and it's done for a reason. When I was looking at assistant coaches, I sat with a guy who probably knew a lot more than the coaches that we have, but the same token, everything was my me, my this, my, and I didn't want that around our program. We were trying to get rid of that. So that was the bigger aspect of when we look at our program. We want people that have as much invested in it as we do. So our assistant coaches all went to the university. So I'm the only one that didn't go to the university, but everybody else has something to say because they have a little passion about our school. So, anything else?
Oh, don't be shy. I know I got some time. I know some of you got something to ask. Go ahead. It doesn't have to be soccer related. If you want to play soccer, it doesn't have to be soccer related.
It's cool to be the one that asked the question too. Just saying.
That's the first time I've been acknowledged as cool, by the way. Thank you.
Then people remember who you are, and
It's okay to put yourself out there.
everybody takes a drink of the water.
So I found it interesting. So you were nominated as a captain as a junior. You were interested as a captain as a junior, right?
Yeah.
You just mentioned.
Yeah.
What, if any, type of role change or the dynamic did you see change between your interaction between your teammates as a freshman and sophomore as a player, and then being as a technically an underclassman as viewed as now a captain or a leader, or was there some sort of change?
I mean, like attitudes and changes towards me.
Yep.
I think that I was nominated as a captain purely because people don't feel like they have to change around me. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a pretty weird person. I mentioned I'm the one that sings all the Disney songs when we put it in the loudspeakers. I'm the one that gets on the bus every day and yells, "It's game day!" Like I'm the person that people don't have to change around, and I think that might have been like that kind of place where people can come to me with their problems and their their questions, and I will answer them honestly because I've probably experienced some of them myself. And so honestly, I didn't see a change in people around me. Sometimes they joke and say, "Oh, aye, captain," but that was about it. It didn't change at all. And honestly, we don't wear captain bands or put C's on our jackets and jerseys because we're the same people. We're the same players as you are after you voted us in. We just honestly, the only change I saw was I was the one that said heads or tails when they flipped the coin. So, and people didn't treat us differently or look at us differently or let us go to the front of the line or let us take the ball. And it's the kind of thing where we're all seen as equals. We all get playing time. We all make each other better. Someone was saying, I think it was one of the freshmen that came in this year, they were like, we honestly didn't know what grade everybody was or how old everybody was because everybody hangs out with everyone. We've got a senior will put it in the group chat, say, anybody want to go to the library? And anybody will say, yeah, and they'll go and they'll get a table together. It's just like that sort of climate where you don't only hang out with your grade. You don't only hang out with the people that do the things that you do. I'm going for athletic training. I'm a science person, right? I hang out with my roommate Nora, and she's out there labeling plants and dissecting plants. I didn't actually know you could dissect a plant, but we all have our different interests, and we applaud each other for it. one of our sophomores wants to go to school to be a math teacher. And I was like, no, no thank you. But, she's super excited about it. And she gets super excited when she does well on the test, and we applaud her for when she does well on the test. And that goes for everyone. Like, that's just like our climate. It's like we're family. We're people that will hang out with anybody, will talk with anybody. Sometimes we'll see people going to lunch together. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize they were such good friends. But, they are. We're just good friends, and we're just family together. And that's the cool part about our team, I think. And if you want, I think that's why our team excelled, because we were so close and we were able to connect on the team and on the playing field. Like, I think that's just where we found success. So, that answers your question.
Yeah.
Other than like the letters that you have at the end of the year, do you have any other like goal setting or expectations? And do you go over those again as a team, like mid-season or through the season or any points of time like that?
I want to answer this. Okay, this is what, to me, this is what's really interesting. So as a coaching staff, we have our own goals. And a lot of the time, their goals are much stronger in terms of where they kind of do it. But they do all that on their own. Go ahead.
That's what I was gonna say. Like during preseason, right when it ends, right before season starts, we sit together in our locker room and talk about like what goals we want to accomplish as a team. So like we like games in the NCAA tournament, maintaining a certain grade point average, like winning 50-50 balls, certain like specific goals. So we all sit down to like collaborate and talk about like what we want to achieve this season.
Yeah, we like throw it up on the board. We have somebody with good handwriting, write everything down, and all of a sudden we realize we have the whole board filled up, and we're like, okay, we gotta like level this down to at least 15. We can't have 35 goals. And
then we'll write it up on like a poster board and hang it up in our locker room. So every single time we walk into it, we see what we're gonna achieve this season.
And sometimes, I don't think we did this year, but sometimes we do like halfway through the season, like 8 or 7 people will be in the locker room, and we'll just be looking at it and be like, oh, we could probably check this off. Yeah, we can check this goal off. That's kind of cool. And then at the end of the year, you realize that, wow, like we really accomplished a lot of our goals. And we came so close to this one. We better even amp that up next year, because we know that we can do better than we did this year. So goals are a big thing.
Could you even set like individual goals, like for off season, and even preseason? Don't give us like a journal of like what to write in, of certain goals that you could want to accomplish. So you can like writing down 3 goals that you want to do, or let's say off season, and then check them off as you finish up, to make sure that you're fit ready to go for next season.
I think the big thing that you'll start to see, especially with our program, is basically this extremely player-led. And we give them the right to come up, literally, we have 3 rules. We have don't embarrass the coaching staff, don't embarrass the school, and don't embarrass the program. That's it. That's all I ever tell them. And then again, they come up with their rules of what is non-negotiable, what's kind of, and again, they do it on their own. And then the captains, you don't even tell me what the rules were. But if somebody broke one of them, they would come to me and say, this is what we're going to be doing. And is this okay? Do you back us on this? Because I think since the time I've been at the school, we really haven't had any issues with people not following the expectations that have been set.
And that goes towards like when people break expectations. Sometimes your best friend could be breaking an expectation, and you're like, come on, like you know that's a rule. You know that we talked about this, and that's where that accountability aspect comes in. And that's where it comes into where you can be any age, any person, any rank, whatever, to be a leader. Like being a leader is saying, come on, like you know that we're not supposed to do this before practice. Like that's what being a leader is calling out your friends, even though they might hate you for 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden you're practicing on the field again, doing whatever you want. Like that's what a leader is not being afraid to be a bad guy. I know sometimes I've been a bad guy and people don't like me for one day. But you know what? We come back on the field. She says, "You're right. I'm sorry." And I said, "It's okay. We all make mistakes, and that's what being a leader is being the bad guy sometimes." That's what I got on that.
for games, we have like our set schedule. So for me, I try and get all my schoolwork done before the game. But there's people on the bus at like after the game at 10 o'clock, we're dropping back, and they're doing their homework with like the light on, trying to like finish it before class the next day. So like it could be hard. But then last year, since I was a freshman, we had study tables after season, so that was a good set time for us to get our homework done, so you don't get behind on it. And then, as I was saying earlier, like a bunch of us go to the library together, we study, we make sure that we maintain like a good GPA for our programs. That's what one of our goals was, just to have a high GPA.
Yeah, absolutely. It all depends on the course schedule. You know, if you're gonna go and you're gonna double major in this, and you're gonna minor in all this sort of stuff, you're gonna have more homework than someone that's, you know, just going in for a PE major. She literally played dodgeball for class, so I don't really have homework. But yeah, it all depends on, you know, what part or how much ambition you have and how much time management. That's a big thing. Like she was saying, she tries to get done for class. I know sometimes I don't time manage and I wait until Sunday night and it's the worst. But then, you know, you figure out your schedule. You make like I know I have like a big whiteboard in my room that has all my class times on it and big like due dates circled, and I have my syllabus all laid out to see when assignments are due. You know, it's all in the time management and organization sort of stuff. And honestly, it's not. I mean, it's a little more difficult in high school, but if you are, he mentioned that some of you are 2-sport, 3-sport athletes. You already kind of have that, you know, you feel like you're trying to keep up with homework before class or before school, right? It's a lot like this. Honestly, there's not too much of a difference. I just think that the class schedules or the classes are a little more difficult. So if you're already doing well with your time management, you just have to keep that up. And if you're not, you just have to learn. You just have to force yourself to try. So, yeah.
Yeah.
What was the biggest difference in like team-wise coming from high school soccer to
For me, it was drama. I had a lot of drama on the high school team. No one really liked each other. So like that kind of didn't help with like, you know, like meeting with each other after class or like outside school. It was strictly just soccer. Like, get into these 2 hours, get right out. And then when I came here, I was extremely surprised to have no drama whatsoever. And if there was, it would be solved within half a day. So like that was a big aspect for sure.
Yeah, I'd say that's the same with mine too. You know, every team, every sport, every high school, and you know, you have the cliques. You have the people that are over here, people over here. When you get to college, if you want to be successful, if you want to like, you know, you just do well and feel like you're doing well, you have to like just include everybody, and you can't linger on things for days and weeks. Like I said, the drama just doesn't exist anymore because that's what's going to hinder us. You know, we're not going to do well if we don't like each other. That doesn't make any sense. You know, so I would say definitely the drama and level of play. You know, if you're playing basketball, if you're playing football, volleyball, whatever, you got to come in and you're going to be ready to. Preseason is going to kick your butt, kick my butt. I was laying in bed a lot of times just like, oh my gosh, do I really want to do this? And then I would go out the next day with, you know, my team, and it'd be so much fun, and I'd be like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And just that level of play, just like that speed of play, intensity, you have to really be committed if you want to do well and if you want to have fun with it. So. Any other questions? Any good questions? Thank you.
Hey, you hear them talk a lot about how they like their teammates or whatever, but I think the big thing you kind of know is you're not going to like all your teammates all the time, right? But the key is to respect your teammates. Everybody brings something different to the table from a different lifestyle, a different just whatever, and you have to be able to embrace that about them and kind of. You know, the big thing I think that is missing a lot of times with today's student athletes is the ability to have a little empathy for your teammates. Like it's not a cut or dry type of a deal sometimes. And if you can embrace the struggle that each one of you have, I think you're going to be more likely to embrace your team in a different way. And you know, we joke a lot about, you know, can you put yourself in the other person's shoes and fight for them and fight with them, you know, because we had a lot, that first year we had, you know, players instead of, and it was heartbreaking to me, because they'd be sitting there and I'm like, you know, I was like, well, I'm not gonna be able to beat her out. So instead, they would wish that the person got injured so they could play. And that was, you know, again, that was another, like, oh my gosh, what did I just get into by taking this? And now, we talk a lot about me with you. So if these two play the same spot, it's their job to make the other one better in our team atmosphere, so that when if something happens, and this year we lost our second leading goal scorer, she broke her leg in the 7th game, and so we played the rest of the year without her. And so we had other people to step up because of the fact that they were able to fight and keep going as if something like that could have happened. And I think that becomes a very important thing. So it's not me against the person not fighting for playing time. It's me with. Because again, you want to value the person to your left and your right when you're playing. You want to value the person that sits next to you in your locker room.
Right. It's got to be all about the team. That's what it boils down to. It's got to be about the team, and you have to be willing to make the sacrifices, and you have to be willing to cheer on that teammate that's playing ahead of you. And when you're in practice, you can battle your way back to that spot, you know, and you battle respectfully, and you battle, you know, you play fair, and if they beat you out, they beat you out that day, and you try again the next day. And like that's the kind of fun I think that we have. Is our practices get pretty intense sometimes. Me and another girl, she's actually a senior this year. We're really competitive. Whenever we're on opposite teams, we're always like, oh man, like this team's so much better. We're gonna beat you, and it's so funny. But then when we're on the same team, we're like, oh, you guys better watch out. Like we're coming for you, and you know, it's just like that competitive aspect where you're respectfully competitive, and that's again going down to the leadership. You have to be willing to. A good leader can sit on the bench and cheer on the team. That's all.
All right, thank you guys. One more time, please thank our guests from UWSP. All right, you guys go. I'll excuse you from your next class. You're a couple minutes behind. Thank you guys.